Hello and welcome once again to the Tuesday Night Live Show. I'm Bob McMasters, as always, your host. And tonight we have another exciting featured guest coming your way in just a few moments. Stick with us. This is Tuesday Night Live. Thank you to everyone either watching us live or via a replay. At this moment, let's go ahead and bring in our co-host for tonight. Please give a warm welcome to my co-host for the night. Spangle is out of pocket. He's off tonight. And so we've got Oklahoma's favorite, Santa Scott Saratine, with us tonight. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Bob. Hello, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, you got a special Valentine you want to wish.
Oh, that's right. My favorite elf, Sugar Plum Mary's birthday's today as well. So we want to wish my lovely wife happy birthday.
Happy
Thanks for
birthday,
reminding me, though,
Colleen.
Bob.
Very good. Also say hello to our talented show producer, our very own Angela Mack, who is back for more punishment for the season 3, 2023. All right, so we have a great season of shows ahead of us for the 2023 season, our third season. I can't believe we're already in the third season. So let's get episode 1 started. Season 1 and 2, we had a phenomenal guest, and this season will be no different. Our featured guest for tonight has made multiple appearances on the Tuesday Night Live show. But before we bring him out of the green room into the studio, let's remind everyone that the Tuesday Night Live show can be found on YouTube at Facebook or Facebook at the Tuesday Night Live show. And for your convenience, all our shows are recorded for later viewing. Please visit us, drop us a comment, a like, a share, a subscribe. That helps us build our channel, helps us get up the more views that we get, the further up the chain we go, and that's what we're looking to do. We do appreciate you. The first half of tonight's Tuesday Night Live show is brought to you by, and our brand new sponsor for the first half this year is School of Santas, schoolofsantas.com, hosted in Branson, Missouri, where education and fun meet.
Well, the trivia for tonight, folks, for the first part of the show is the Branson Ferris wheel moved from Chicago's Navy Pier to Branson's Track Family Fun Parks in what year? The Branson Ferris wheel moved from Chicago's Navy Pier to Branson Track Family Fun Parks in what year?
That's right. Since the School of Santas is the sponsor for the first half of this year's show, we wanted to start off with something from Branson, and we, as always, went in, did some research, and love this particular question. If you've ever been to Branson, you know that Ferris wheel kind of towers over everything. You can see it from all four corners of Branson, and so put your answers in, and we will get to the correct answers and the winner towards the end of the show tonight. So. All right, on to the next thing.
Hold on, I'm writing. Okay.
If you haven't been to Branson to see the Ferris wheel, July's the time to go. School of Santas.
The first half of tonight's Tuesday Night Live show is brought to you by schoolofsantas.com. Kick off your 2023 season with inspiration from the School of Santas, an annual premier educational opportunity where fun and education meet, and is held each year the third weekend in July in scenic Branson, Missouri. School of Santas prides itself in bringing in a variety of new instructors and presenters each year, which makes this school unique in the Christmas community. Offering quality education, training, and fun for only $359. Included in your tuition is 4 days of classes, Thursday through Sunday, and 4 fun nights of entertainment. 2 of these are in-house, along with 2 Branson theater shows, where the class can enjoy time out on the town. We kick off both nights with a parade, our annual School of Santa's tribute to Daisy May. All meals provided during class served in-house include a total of 4 dinners and 3 lunches. And breakfast is also included if staying at the host hotel. To close out the weekend, we have the Sunday graduation reception with Elvis entertaining on stage. We also have our expanded StuffForSanta.com mobile store in-house all weekend along with other select premier vendors. Remember, School of Santa's Branson, Missouri is where fun and education meet. For more information, or to reserve your $359 educational, fun vacation in Branson, contact Tanya Lay at 1-800-432-4202 or email Tanya@bransonticket.com. Hotel rooms are not included in the price. Reservations for your room at the American by Wyndham Branson and Conference Center can be made at the time of registration. Remember to contact Tanya at 1-800-432-4202 before it's too late. Now, back to tonight's show.
Well, tonight's featured guest will be joining us from his North Pole studio in the panhandle of Chipley, Florida. He's the 2018 inductee of the International Santa Claus Hall of Fame and 2019 Santa Claus of the Year at Nationwide Santas. We are honored to have him back to Tuesday Night Live 2023, Season 3. Would you please welcome Santa Rex Ray?
Whoops, you guys caught me. You caught me. The graphic I saw said, get your milk and cookies ready. I was trying. Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight?
We're doing great. Glad to have you, Rex.
I'm always glad to be on this show. This is one of the best shows on Facebook. It's actually one of the best shows anywhere right now. So I'm really happy to be here, guys. I'm very honored that you invited me back.
Gosh, Rex, now the pressure's really on. We got a lot to live up to here. Well, welcome back, brother. Let's start off talking about some exciting news. Some may have already heard, but we at Sat Bob's are super, and I do mean super excited to have Rex joining the ranks as our East Coast instructor for the school. Rex brings vast experience and knowledge to his polished style of speaking, and no doubt a Santa that loves to share and help his fellow colleagues in the community. If you're interested in holding a class, just contact Rex ASAP and see if you can't get a class put together somewhere over there in your neck of the woods. Now, talk to us about that, Rex. What are you you geared up and just waiting to get going here?
I am. I've been going through all the books for my third time, actually. I took this class many years ago back from Gordon, our founder, Gordon Bailey. Attended a class he did out in Las Vegas, Nevada several years ago at a nationwide Santa get-together. So I've had the books for a while. I reference back to them quite a bit over the years, but now I've read them from cover to cover during the Christmas season, during my downtime, and I'm going back through them again now, making notes and stuff, getting ready for the class. In fact, I've already sent information about possibly holding a class to a Santa here in Florida, which the school's never been able to break into before. So hopefully we can break that barrier and get one of our schools down here in Florida this year.
Florida has been a tough market to get into, and from me being with the membership of IBRBS, I was privileged to find out that the biggest number of Santas and Mrs. Clauses are concentrated in that southeast corner of the United States, Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida. So you've got a big market there. If again, it's just been a hard market to break into. Uh, I know there's
It
been a
has,
couple of
and
schools.
it's a real populous area. You're right. Atlanta, Georgia alone has like 6 different Santa groups. And then there's the northern group and a statewide group. There's several groups just in Georgia. South Carolina has a group. North Carolina has a group. Alabama has a group, we all know. And Florida does too. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here. I'm hoping that we can get this thing moving along. I'm really looking forward to helping you in Garland, Texas next month. That's where I'm really going to get my feet wet. I have done some teaching in the past. I've held classes, individual classes at other schools where I visited. I've done them at conventions in Gatlinburg and other places. So I'm
And
not
last
new
year
to
in
teaching.
Branson.
And in Branson. I did it in my career, my when I really worked for a living career. I taught quite a few classes on subjects, but I'm really looking forward to this one because I think I've got a lot to offer. I love to share, like all us Santas. I love to talk, so this ought to be good.
Fit right in with the rest of us, that's for sure. All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about something else that is very dear and near to your heart, our hearts. That's the Little Darling Claus scholarship that you've set up in Darlene's name. Can you tell us how many scholarships are available and how folks can apply for this year?
Well, for this year, for 2023, I'm offering a total of 3 scholarships. 2 of them are through Santa Nana Holiday University. We are completely paying the tuition for 2 ladies, and we've just awarded those. Deanna Golden and Judith Broderick just made the announcement earlier this week. When we opened the application process at Santa Nana University, was just right after Christmas, just before New Year's. So in a little over a month, maybe a month and a half, we got 14 applications for those 2 scholarships.
It's great.
Tremendous response. And we have awarded the 2. One went to Christine Cato in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Christine. And the other to Oklahoma's own Susan Hunt out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Congratulations to you too, Susan. We're really tickled about those 2 scholarships. Now, the third one will be to the School of Santas in Branson, Missouri this July. I'm probably going to out Spangle a little bit here because he's kind of ghosted me lately. I've sent him some information that I thought might be relevant to criteria to qualify and how to apply and things like that. And he's been out of pocket a lot lately and had a lot of things going on, so he hadn't really got back to me. But I'm going to go ahead and make the announcement. What we're doing is we're doing 1 full scholarship. Spangle is generous enough to put up the tuition to the school. The $359 is what Spangle is going to cover in the Little Darling Claus scholarship for School of Santas. And I have kicked in $500 to help cover expenses, be it travel, hotel, whatever the recipient wants to spend it on as part of their expenses to get there and attend the school. That doesn't cover everything. We know the hotel costs a little more than that, travel then, but it's up to them. That's what I could put in this year. So for this year, we've got 3 of them in Darlene's name. Next year, who knows? Maybe more. I'm trying to get a trust started so that I can continue to fund these every year.
That is so wonderful. That's great. And, something that can't everybody afford to go to these type of events. Some of them are pricey. and new ones hitting the market every day. I've seen a couple of new ones here for this season, and a couple of them was pretty pricey. So that $500 goes a long ways to getting someone to Branson, and then of course the two that you've already announced for Santa Ana Holiday University. Fantastic, Rex. You're a class
And the
act.
whole idea behind this is, I know how hard my wife struggled learning to be Mrs. Claus, becoming a Mrs. Claus, and learning the best way to do things in her portrayal. So I want to try to make it a little easier on some women. And I do fully understand the value and the need to have these female performers with us.
Oh yeah. And,
Well,
and
thank you, Rex.
Santa Nana had that vision, and Deanna and Judith have taken that and ran with it. And the groundwork for Santa has been around for hundreds of years now. So a little bit easier for us guys to go back and find different ways of portraying the big guy from different things that we can read and look at. But for the ladies, I'm with you. It has been a little bit of a struggle because there's not as much history there of the portrayal of Mrs. Claus herself. So fantastic job, class act, and I'm gonna pass it to Scott.
Well, Rex, thank you so much for your generosity and your thoughtfulness in sponsoring those scholarships. And if you do get a trust set up, anybody that wants to give to that trust to help fund it, feel free to reach out to Rex. I'm probably stepping out of my own bounds, but every little extra dollar will help if you get it set up to help build it where it will regenerate and where it can fund it every year. But anyhow, let's not to jump off the subject, but let's talk about your 2022 Christmas season and tell us about the different kinds of visits and jobs you performed and where, and how did your season go?
My season went excellent. Now, for those that follow me on Facebook and other places probably know, I had open heart quadruple bypass surgery August 1st of 2022. And I was back in the chair at a Bass Pro Shop the first weekend in November, fully functioning as Santa Claus. So it was a great season. I had a great time. I do full time at the Bass Pro. I'm there every day through November and December. I also do our local parade and Christmas festival in what I call my hometown now, Chipley, Florida. I happen to be the vice president of the Chipley Christmas Fest. We keep it a completely free festival and free parade. It's a night lighted parade. We do free photos with Santa. We have bouncy houses for the kids. We have crafts for the kids to do. We have music. This year we did 2 days for the festival and had a skating rink in the panhandle of Florida for the first time. It was a hit. A lot of kids had a lot of fun on it. We had a great time there. I used to do a lot of home visits and things. I don't do too many of those anymore. I tried to cut back a little bit the last few years, but I still have a couple of corporate clients I do. One is a huge resort area down on the coast here in the Panhandle. It's called Watercolors. It's a resort home place, and they have a big, what they call the Old World Florida Market and holiday celebration. And Darlene and I were their Santa and Mrs. Claus for many years. I've been their Santa for many, many years. We expanded it this year. Instead of the usual 5 hours, we did 8 hours in the chair. So that particular day, I was in Tallahassee, Florida at the Bass Pro in the morning, got off at noon, jumped in my truck, drove 125 miles to Watercolors, Florida, spent 8 more hours in the chair there, jumped back in my truck, drove 125 miles back to Tallahassee, Florida that night, and was back in the chair at Bass Pro the next morning. So it was quite a busy season. It started early for me. I started in September with some photo sessions, worked every single weekend through October, doing photo sessions with photographers. If you follow me on Facebook, you've seen some of them that I've shared. I have one photographer that I love to work with here in the Panhandle. It's Keisha Williams, Fine Art Photography. She does fine art photography, much like Santa Cliff Snyder gets done and stuff. And I have a blast doing that. We spend those sessions are 20-minute sessions. I get to spend 20 minutes with every child. We typically don't let the parent in the room. They get to watch through a window. So the child gets a full 20 minutes to interact with Santa. And we talk about life at the North Pole, and we work in the workshop a little bit. We do lots of things. We have a great time and get some of the best shots you've ever seen. So yeah, it was a full season. I had a great time. I loved every minute of it. Still look forward to doing it year after year. And, I don't often like to admit this. It's taken me a long time to own up to it. My baby sister, who is now in her 50s, will gladly tell you that her very first memories of Santa Claus when she was just about 3 and 4 years old was Santa Claus leaving our house in Houston, Texas on his motorcycle. And that was me putting the red suit on for the very first time in my life, going to work every day. I worked at a service station. And so Santa Claus wiped the windows, checked the air in your tires, checked the oil in your car, and put the gas in it for you. That's how long ago that was. That was 53 years ago this year. So I consider my professional career to have started back around 1998 when I really got serious about doing this. But I've actually been putting the suit on and off for over 50 years. So still having a great time.
Well, it sounds like you've got a big portion of 2023 already booked up. Do you want to share anything special or tell us a little bit about what you've already got booked?
Well, okay. I mean, it's no big secret. Most of the people that book me outside of Bass Pro know and have booked me for years and know that they have to get me very, very early. So I start getting bookings in January. Every weekend in the month of October is already fully booked by my photographers. I've got 2 more photographers talking to me about doing September photos for Christmas. The Watercolors has already booked me for their event for this year. Of course, the Chipley Christmas Parade and Festival, I'm always booked for it. So, and I'm sure Gina won't let me down. I'll be back at Bass Pro again this year too.
Okay, Rex, what is your most rewarding moment as a professional Santa, and could have been during a visit or otherwise?
Well, and I've talked about several different visits on this show before, and I've had so many over the years. One that always stands out in my mind, and it's kind of funny, and it's one I like to tell, especially new and young Santas about, because it lends into one of the pieces of advice I give, which is pay attention. Focus on the child that you're talking to at the moment. The local hospital here in Chipley, Northwest Florida Community Hospital, puts on a back-to-school fair every year in August, the latter part of July, first part of August, just before school starts. And several of the local businesses come together and have games for the kids to play, and they get prizes that are typically school supplies, pencils, erasers, paper, notebooks, things like that. A local technical school comes over and sets up and cuts all the kids' hair. The hospital does free health checks. Lots goes on. And Santa likes to show up and walk around and visit with the kids and stuff in casual dress. Well, one year, a few years back, I was out there doing this at this school back to school fair, and a little school bus pulled up and outpoured all these kids, just a whole bunch of children. And what it was a local child care center had rented a bus and brought the whole school up there to the back to school fair. And so these are all like 5, 6, maybe 7-year-old children. And I'm walking around, and this one little girl comes running up to me, and she's probably 5 or 6 years old, puts her hands on her hips and looks at me and says, "If you're the real Santa Claus, you will know my name." And I just kind of stroked my beard and thought, looked real thoughtful for a moment, looked at her and said, "Your name's Barbara." And her eyes got real big and her mouth just dropped, and off she ran. And I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes later, here she comes back dragging one of her little friends with her, and says, "Okay, Santa, what's his name?" And I do the thoughtful look again. "That's Danny." They both. And off they run. And this went on for a good 15, 20 minutes. She's always bringing somebody back. And somewhere around here, I have a photograph. We got all these kids around me for a picture. They're all smiling real big because they've met the real Santa Claus. And in the picture, on every one of them, you can see their name badge hanging around their neck about this big. And not a one of them realized all I was doing was reading that name badge back to them. So, and that's my advice to new guys learning to do this. Pay attention. Be aware of everything about that child, because there's always a hint there. There's always something that you're going to be able to play off of. And, here it was. I got all these kids firmly believing because I knew every one of their names.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
A lot of times mom will walk up, like you said, paying attention, and they'll say, "Well, Johnny, go ahead and tell Santa what you want." And
you got to listen and pay attention.
So that's a really good point, for new Santas. Pay attention. I mean, because half of the answers are in front of you.
It definitely pays. All right, so we've got a couple of comments I want to get to real quick, Rex, before we move on. Can you put up the one from who is this Rex guy? I'm going to ask you if you can figure out who this is. Who is this Rex guy? I think I know Bob, but this guy must be new. Laugh out loud. Anybody got any idea who that is? I mean, I know the folks on Facebook can see the name.
You asking us who we think it is?
Yeah, you're Rex.
I'm thinking of Spigel the Clown, but
Spigel.
Of course. So he dropped in for a moment. And the other one we want to get to is down here, exactly right there. That is from Everett Prostrollo. How do you get photographers to shoot in October?
Well, one thing I did many years ago is I joined my local Chamber of Commerce and have been an active member in the Chamber of Commerce of Washington County, Florida for a number of years. And by being a member, I have access to a mailing list of all the members. So several years ago, I did one of the little postcard advertisement kind of things. And I think Spangle Printing did it for me, printed it up many years ago. And I got a list of all the photographers that were members of Washington County Chamber of Commerce and started sending that card out every year in June and again in July and again in August. 3 times each year I would send that out. And then I would start getting phone calls. And we'd talk, and I'd say, "Look, I am booked already for November and December. So if you want to do this, we have to do it in October." I said, when you think about it, October is a great time for a photographer. They've got time to take the pictures, get them edited well, and produce them, let the family look them over so they can select their Christmas pictures in plenty of time to do Christmas cards or whatever they want with them. It took a few years, but I've built it now where I'm constantly busy about halfway through September all the way through to the 1st of November.
Great advice.
That's great. Yep, great advice. Because, most photographers for forever and ever waited till sometimes in November and even early December to start that process. And as Rex mentioned,
I still get phone calls in December wanting to do photos. And I'm sorry, I'm just booked.
Like I say, and now, the mail doesn't run near as fast as it used to, back in the day. So you've got to add a little extra time there. So that's great advice, Rex. Fantastic. All right. So what type of hobbies have you had outside of the Christmas community?
Well, and I had to buy something here right after Christmas that I didn't think I'd have to buy. Most people know my wife passed away a little over a year ago. And shortly after that, I closed down her sewing and seamstress business, tailoring business, and sold all the equipment. What my kids and grandkids didn't want, I sold. Well, after Christmas this year, my suit needed some repair work done. And dadgum, if I didn't have to go out and buy a sewing machine. So now and Darlene would never let me sew because I could not sew a straight line. I ran the embroidery machines, but she wouldn't let me run a sewing machine. So now I'm trying to learn how to sew so I can do my own repairs on my suit. But I've also started picking up doing a little leather work just to give me something to piddle with. And I don't know if you can see these.
Sure can. I saw your post on that the other day. Those are really nice.
And now I've got one for Mrs. Claus. And Santa. So I'm starting to piddle around with a few things, but I have a lot of property here, and we'll talk about that later when you want to hear about the chili, but that takes up a lot of my time between that and my cars. So there's not a lot of time left for other hobbies, but I do like to piddle with some things now and then.
And the cars was something that I thought you might mention because I know you and I have talked, so I know about your love for automobiles, and that is also a hobby that I'm sure takes a bit of your time. And just like the other day when you was out there, I think changing the oil or something on one of them when I called you. So
yeah, it's always when I've got 3 collectible cars right now besides my truck that I use every day, and I'm looking to add 2 more to the garage before I pass. And I know you were going to ask a question about those. I didn't know if it was now or later, but
we can wait till later.
Okay.
So, all right. So, hey, right now would be a great time to go ahead and let's take a short breather right here. Time for the Tuesday Night Live show to take our halftime break for a special product announcement. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Hello. Hello.
Hey! Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
No, don't do that.
All right, we had to expand on that one, make it a little bit more interesting for everyone from the last 2 seasons. So that's the newest of the new for that. Stop the show. It's time for the Tuesday Night Live Showstopper Special for this week's StuffForSanta.com Showstopper Special. The clown is not here, so what we're going to do is Angela is going to put this up, and then we'll talk about this on the other side. Okay, as you can see from that little promo, this is the stickers. You must buy 6 rolls, $10 per roll. These are the 2-inch stickers. If you buy 6 rolls of this design, I Met Santa Claus, which is a 200 count, 2-inch stickers, as I mentioned, you get 6 more rolls for the same price, free. And the extra 6 is going to be the 1.5-inch sticker, as you can see from the promo. There was 2 sizes there in that photo. These rolls are 500 count to a row, so you would be getting 3,000 stickers for free. Spangle always says he actually likes the smaller ones better. That's his preference on them. You can increase this offer. Of course, it's buy 6, get 6 free. Buy 12, get 12 free. or you can buy 30 and get 30 free. Now, here's the kicker on top of all that. He's offering free shipping. So if you're interested in getting some stickers for a heck of a price, reach out to Spangle. I don't believe that with the free shipping and the offer, you have to actually go through Spangle, which you can see the little clown himself. And but reach out to him and take advantage of that. That's going to be quite a great deal there. So, all right, let's see here.
Oh, hello there. Yes, of course, it's me, Santa Claus. Now, you may not believe this, but one of the questions I get asked the most is, well, not how do I do it all in one night? No, but where do I get all my things from? Yes, now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the finest things I have. My glorious gloves, all my knickknacks and trinkets and things. Yes, all the giveaways. Yes, for me to give to the children before the main event. Yes, if I see them in the streets, if they come and see me, I like to have something in my pocket I can treat them with. Yes, and there's one special place where I can find all these magical goods. And that is, of course, stuffforsanta.com. You should head there now and see what magical gifts you can find. Mrs. Claus, have you got my ice pad? Yes, log me on. I'm going to have a look. I shall see you there. Stuffforsanta.com. Merry Christmas.
And that's right. Santa.com is brought to you by the second half of Tuesday Night Live Show. It's brought to you by StuffForSanta.com is what I should be saying. And we're excited to have Spangle on board as always. And, Sammy does such a fantastic job with that commercial. I cannot get tired of watching that one. That is a great one. He is such an entertainer. All right, so we're going to move on to our trivia video.
Well, our trivia question for the second half of the show is, in 1813, a woman named Mary Pickersgill, a Baltimore flag maker, was asked to make 2 flags from Fort McHenry. One of these, the 30-foot by 42-foot Army flag, would later become known as blank. There it is on the screen. In 1813, a woman named Mary Pickersgill, a Baltimore flag maker, was asked to make 2 flags for Fort McHenry. One of these, a 30 by 42-foot Army flag that would later be known as.
Right, guys, do your research on that.
Yep,
that's right. And while you're doing that, we're going to go ahead and move along, get your answers in. We'll reveal the answers to both questions later on towards the end of the show. So before we get on to the next question here, Rex, we had a question from an audience member. Let's see here. That was from, let me find it.
Kathy Scranton.
Kathy Scranton wants to know, are you selling the Mrs. C key rings?
I will be selling them. We're going to first sell them in Gatlinburg in April. We'll have all the key rings there, and that's where we're first going to offer them. Then I'll put them on a Facebook special after that.
And since you've mentioned Gatlinburg, And we had mentioned, I think, on the Bob Randall and Company show that you would be going over to Gatlinburg this year. But since you and Darlene don't have the booth anymore, you might tell everyone where you're going to be, who you're going to be with, and what the name of the company is that you will be there with.
Okay, well, my youngest daughter actually got the entrepreneurship spirit from Darlene. Both my daughters got the creative spirit from her. But the youngest one has gotten the entrepreneurship, and she has a business called Fancy Lee Creations. And what she had done up until recently was all sublimation, printing and stuff where she could do T-shirts, coffee mugs, Yeti type cups and things, phone cases, pins, just anything you could think of she can sublimate on. And her thing is she'll do it custom on the spot. She's got the booth in Gatlinburg. She'll be there with her computer, her heat press, her oven, the whole 9 yards. If you've got a picture you want put on a mug, you got a picture you want put on a T-shirt, you got a saying you want on a T-shirt or a sweatshirt, she can do it on the spot. She's also taken over the embroidery part of Little Darling's creations. So she took one of I gave her one of the big industrial embroidery machines that we had. We had 3 big industrials and 1 smaller one. I gave her the big industrial that Darlene and I always took to the shows. So it's going to be in Gatlinburg also. We'll still be doing on-the-spot embroidery. Bring your vest, bring your coat, bring your hat, whatever you've got you want embroidered, feel free to bring it. We'll put one of the designs on it. I'm going to be there to help her with the embroidery part of it because that's what I did at Little Darling's. While she does the other. We will be selling our vests there, so you can buy one of our vests and get the design on it too. But we will be right inside the front door of Gatlinburg's vendor area. We'll be the very first booth you walk into as you come in the door. Fancy Lee Creations.
Can't miss it. Very good. All right, that's something to look forward to. So, okay, let's move on to the second half of tonight's program, and let's jump back into it, Rex. As a Hall of Fame Santa, what is the 2 best pieces of advice you would give to a newer Santa that is starting out that would help him succeed?
Well, the first piece of advice I give any Santa, especially new ones, is be yourself. You know, we all want to try and copy what we see other Santas do and look so successful. And yeah, when we're first starting out, that's what we try to do. We try to imitate everybody else. But a child realizes when you're not being authentic. That's one thing they'll see through real quick. So be original. Be yourself. Don't try to emulate everything you do from somebody else. A piece here, a piece there, yeah. But be original and be yourself is the first piece of advice I give. And the second is that become a good listener and pay attention to the whole child. Focus on the child you're dealing with at the moment. When I'm in the chair as Santa Claus, a classic example of this, my kids and grandkids surprised me at Bass Pro this year by coming from the east coast of Georgia and from Chipley all the way to Tallahassee to get their picture with me and my great-grandkids. And I didn't know they were coming. And they came on one of our busiest days. We had a line that was, you were probably waiting 30 minutes to see me. I was so focused on each and every child, I didn't even see them in the line until they walked right up to my chair. That's how focused you need to be. Pay attention to every aspect of that child. There's always something you can play off of, but focus on that child. Let them know you're paying attention to only them. Forget the camera. Forget everything else that's going on. Those are my 2 best pieces of advice.
And both very good. Fantastic advice. That second one is so true. You get so caught up with that visit, the children or child or family that's right in front of you that there's nothing else. I mean, a bomb could go off and you would barely know it. because you're so focused right there. That is such great advice. All right, over to you, Scott.
Well, speaking of advice, tell our audience how you'd approach and prepare for a media interview and major publications as a senior Santa.
Well, and it varies depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a live interview or a taped interview, either one, I have to have my calm time, my quiet time to get my mind in that place. Now, if it is going to be a taped or live interview on TV or radio, I always, for me personally, I gargle with a little warm salt water to help loosen the throat, make sure everything's working right. I have been told that I have a very good Santa voice without trying to change my voice at all. So I want to make sure that voice projects and things like it should. For print interviews and things like that, it's a little different. I try to find out ahead of time what subject they want to cover, and so that I can brush up on it a little bit and make sure I've got relevant information for them. I consider myself to be pretty good at off the cuff. Thank you, Toastmasters, for 30 plus years. But I always try to brush up on any specific subjects. I did one this past season, thanks to Bob McMaster. There was a post put on one of his Facebook pages, I think the Mall Santa page, where a journalist in the University of Florida here in Gainesville, Florida, was looking for some local Santas in the area to interview about how they prepare for the season. And I did an over-the-phone interview with her. It ended up being in part of the article. She interviewed several Santas for it. But again, it was, okay, what do I do to prepare? And I brushed up on that so I had relevant information and wouldn't waste her time in the interview. But that's pretty much what I do.
Very good, Scott. Since I took the question afterwards, I went ahead and moved it forward about Gatlinburg. Go ahead and catch that next one that I was going to ask.
Is there anything you regret or you would do different? Your first year, first few years?
Yeah, as a new Santa. We mentioned new Santa, so is there anything you would do different or that you regret?
Something that I have learned over the years is I wish that the schools and the conventions and the get-togethers and the groups all existed when I first started doing this. Way back when I was a young man, a teenager. In the beginning, I didn't think that education was all that important. I thought, if you have Santa in your heart, and you ought to be able to do this without having to go to school. I was so wrong. There's so much to learn. I tell people all the time, 30 plus years in Toastmasters has made me the Santa I am as much as anything else. All the experience, all the schools I've been to, and I've been to several, all the conventions, all the camaraderie, and just when we have our little state get-togethers of Santas here in Florida or in Alabama, I attend either one. My favorite time of that is when we're all sitting around the hotel lobby, just chit-chatting, telling stories and talking about our season and what we did and what we did work, didn't work, things like that. I think that's the best times. So I wish there'd been more of that available when I was younger and starting out. And I've been around these things a long time. I still wear my Aorbs ring. So I've been in most of these groups over the years at one time or another, because I know the value of that camaraderie and fellowship with each other. And it's important that we do that.
Well, I'll have to agree with that, Rex, because I can't tell you how valuable the things you shared with me that I've used this past season from just the School of Santas this last year, when we spent time when we should have been in bed, probably eating cobbler and ice cream. So and that's something that I miss and I look forward to this year in July. So anyhow, I got a sneaky suspicion that you're hiding something from all of us. So I need you to tell me about this venison and wild pork Texas style chili of yours.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm a member of our local Chamber of Commerce, and here recently, a new business in Chipley, our first bed and breakfast, opened, and to help bring people around and get to know his business, he held a chili cook-off. And I went over to it as dressed as casual Santa and made an appearance and tasted all the chilies. And now, I was born and raised in West Virginia. A poor dirt farm in West Virginia is where I grew up by my grandmother and my great-grandmother. But we moved to Texas in 1965, and I lived there 22 years. So a lot of what I know and learned about things I learned during my time in Texas, because I was a very young man when I first moved there. And it's where I learned about chili more than any place else. So as Bob McMasters well know, and being from Oklahoma, you're probably aware of this, Scott, chili doesn't have beans in it. If you put beans in it, it's stew, right?
Yep.
Well, every chili at this thing had beans in it. And there were some good ones, but they all had beans. So I told him next year, Santa is going to enter that chili cook-off with his wild venison and wild pork chili. Now, the reason I have wild venison and wild pork is all this land I own in the hunt clubs and things that I'm involved with and lease to and stuff. I have a freezer full of deer meat and wild hog meat and wild turkey. So making chili gets to be an easy thing for me, and I do it Texas style. So we'll see how well I fare next year and how these semi-Southerners, because in Florida, we're not always considered real Southerners.
Wannabes.
Yeah, because everybody moved here from New York and California.
That's right.
Transplanted. Yep, transplanted.
See how they take the Texas chili.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say right now that you're going to finish at least first. If you don't, I mean, no doubt. No beans. Hey, that's a winner in everybody's eyes, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, so we kind of touched on this earlier, and so we're going to jump right on into this one here, Rex. I happen to know that we are both car guys, but what is your dream car? And talk about a few of your favorite cars you've owned through the years. And then I got a follow-up question to that.
Okay, well, as most folks know that follow me on Facebook and stuff know, I right now in my collection I have a 1929 Ford Model A that has the original drivetrain in it, the original 4-cylinder, 3-speed, mechanical brakes, the whole bit. But it is my Santa parade car. I've painted it red and green. We've got police lights on it. We've got a sound system in it that most radio station vans are jealous of in the parades. They want to come over and see my amp. Undercarriage lights, all of that. I also have a 1963 Ford T-Bird convertible that's red with red leather interior. And I have the 1989 Jaguar XJS with the V12 that is red, also convertible. Those are my favorite cars. That's why I have them in my collection. But I have two dream cars I want to add to that collection. And one of those is a 1972 Cadillac Eldorado convertible, red with white leather interior and a white rag top on it. Obviously, I want those colors because it's Santa Claus. The other is a 1972 AMC Gremlin. Now, the story behind why I want those two cars. I bought my very first brand new off the showroom floor car in 1972. No more used cars. I wanted a brand new one. I paid cash for it. And I fell in love with the 1972 Cadillac Eldorado. That was it. That was the car I had to have until I went down to the dealership and found out what it cost. And I did not have enough money for that car. And back then, that was around $6,800, if I remember right, for that Cadillac. What I ended up buying brand new that year, and they had to move two cars out of the showroom to get mine out of the middle of the showroom floor, was a 1972 AMC Gremlin. I paid $2,872 for it, cash money, out the door. Out the door, it had a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed transmission in it on the floor. It was an odd model of the Gremlin because it was a P-38. Not many people know about that when they know about the Gremlin X. But the P-38 was a special edition. Before it was over with that car, before I ended up totaling it at the racetrack one night, the 6-cylinder lasted long enough that I had 3 2-barrel carburetors on that 6-cylinder at once in sync. The night I totaled it, I had a Chevy 454 V8 in that car that would run at 10,000 RPMs. Now, Bob will probably tell you, he's a car guy, he'll know that most big block Chevys will not run those kind of RPMs unless they're very well balanced, in which we did on that one. So that was my drag car, and I'd love to replace those 2 cars in my collection now.
Now, the Cadillac being a Cadillac by name, I'm sure there's lots of those that have been collected through the years, and that one may be kind of easy enough for you to find. And that Gremlin, most of those were cut up for dirt cars, for modifieds, and
Yeah, they were. It's a tough one to find. I've looked.
yeah, that one may be a little harder to come across. Although being the P-38, being a collector item, you may be able to find someone who still has one of the P-38s. But yeah, most of those Gremlins were cut up and used, for gosh, what, 15, 20 years as dirt bodies for the modifieds and things.
Yep.
All right, so that kind of brings me to the second part of the question here. Is there any that you sold that you wish you had back? Because I wished I had not gotten rid of many of mine, both my street cars and my dirt cars. Had nowhere to store them. Each time I would, my interest would go from one classification of cars to the next. I would sell the old one to pay for the new one, and so that was the reason I got rid of them. Or otherwise, I'd have the whole yard full of them, I guess. But wished I had them back. But I know there's got to be some that you wished you had back.
Well, there's one that comes to mind right away when you say one I wish I had back. I was 16, 17 years old, and I bought a Chevrolet El Camino from a junkyard in Houston. It was a rust bucket. This had more holes in it, no floor pans, no engine, no transmission. And I bought it for $12.50 from a junkyard and put it on a trailer and brought it home, put it in the backyard, acquired me a big Chevy V8 and a 4-speed Muncie transmission to put in it, built the engine myself, made it a hot rod. To this day, I always called that truck my sleeper of many colors, because I patched all the rust holes in it with Bondo and fiberglass and whatever was handy. And I would reach around in the garage and whatever color can of spray paint was there, I didn't look, I just grabbed a can and would spray over the Bondo or the fiberglass to prime it. So it had, I don't know, 14, 16 different colors on the thing besides its original white. I put you could change the timing on the cam with an adjuster I had under the dash inside. It had 4 exhaust pipes on the headers, 2 with mufflers and 2 without, so I could uncap the headers while I was inside. Bob, you're probably old enough to remember the old J.C. Whitney catalog and those cutout valves they had you could put on either side of the car.
Exactly
That's
right.
what I had in it. That car made me a whole lot of money doing street drags. Because I'd pull up, talk somebody into a drag race at a stoplight, change the timing, uncap the headers, and smoke them. I wish I had that one back.
A special one for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you and I could go on and talk about cars for days and days and days, but I guess we better move on along here. Question for you. How's that great granddaughter doing? And has she got a grasp on that sweet front porch life yet?
Well, we're working on it. I'm a country western fan. Most people know it. I'm an old-fashioned country western fan. I like the old stuff more than the new. But one of my favorite songs recently has been this one where they talk about we do a lot of front porch sitting, because that's what I do here at my place in the Panhandle. I do a lot of front porch sitting. Before Darlene passed, we were able to get the front porch covered and a swing out there on it so that she and I could sit out there in the evenings and enjoy it. Rain or shine, didn't matter. And that's what I'm trying to get this great-granddaughter of mine into. All my grandkids love it when they come here. We all end up out on the front porch with our cup of coffee or our cup of hot cocoa or whatever adult beverage they might be drinking that evening. A glass of wine, whatever, out there enjoying this beautiful country down here. When I show people pictures, especially out the back of my house, they think I'm in North Carolina. I'm in the Panhandle of Florida. I'm just 50 miles north of the Gulf Coast where my house sits. The high point on my property is 255 feet above sea level. The low point on my property is 128 feet above sea level. So I've got quite a bit of rolling, what we call LA hills.
Yeah.
And you have to be from the Southeast to know what LA stands for.
Lower Alabama.
Lower Alabama, that's right.
I used to live in Mobile.
So, she's getting into it. She's 6.5 months old now. She's sitting up. I just saw a picture of her holding a sign wishing me happy Valentine's Day. So,
how sweet.
Yep, she's starting to really get into this country living. I do that.
Well, and I got to tell you, I sure think she looks an awful lot like Darlene. I mean, there is just you can just look at her and see Darlene.
Well, and her mother, my oldest granddaughter, and her are both Darlene's namesakes. Her mother is Kari Darlene, and of course, Amelia is Amelia Darlene.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great way to carry it on. Now, hey, I'm going to step out on a limb again here. You got all that land. You got this wild pork and venison Texas-style chili of yours. You got plenty of room. I think we need to have a shindig done at your place. You're like, maybe
Sounds
next
like
year.
a great place for a Sat Bob's class.
Well, it could be. Part of this on this property is I have a cliff built and a shooting range. So we can shoot just about anything we want out here. We could have a heck of a shindig here. We could have a real good get.
And I'm not scared to say let's do it by invitation if you just want to invite your closest and besties. But hey, that would be so cool. Be a great place for all of us to wind up, and we could learn so much and share so many stories and look at your cars.
A whole bunch of trouble.
And get into a whole lot of trouble.
Well, Rex, let's see if our viewers have any questions or comments for you. So, guys, just type it in the comments, and we'll let Rex answer them.
Hey, Santa Mel says she'll bring some Arkansas barbecue.
You know what? And that's something else. Bob and I have talked about this before. I worked for a company for 45 years for one company, and they sent me all over the world. So I've eaten all over the world, and I have yet to find a barbecue anywhere that I don't like. So bring it on, Santa Mel.
It's all a little different, but it's all good.
All very good. I tell people all the time, you don't get a body like mine by being choosy about what you eat.
Well, yeah, exactly. Those who follow me know that I owned a barbecue restaurant for 10 years. I know barbecue. Scott knows barbecue. He's done barbecue catering. He's the one that supplies the pulled pork for the School of Santas, enough for everybody every year. And so, hey, we're a bunch of barbecuers. We could definitely get the job done.
Yeah, I competed on the KCBS circuit for about 3 years. So
yes, you did.
I definitely have cooked against some big boys, some world champions and stuff like that. So if you need barbecue tips, either Bob, Rex, or myself, or I'm sure we're out there, especially if you need chili tips. Rex is the man. I'm not much of a chili cook, but I know beans don't go in anything.
the only barbecue I even claimed to do, and I learned to do this while I lived in Texas, was I do brisket. I don't, to me, learning to barbecue in Texas, I'm sorry, Santa Scott, but pork was poor man's barbecue. Chicken was poor man's barbecue. In Texas, we barbecued beef.
And
so,
my mentor was from the East Coast, and he came to Texas and found out real quick that we don't do pork brisket and beef ribs here. It's right opposite. We do beef brisket and pork ribs. And
that's
so
right.
he kind of had to change his tune and learn, how to switch over. And of course, he again taught me how to cook some of the best beef brisket and ribs around. And I'm very fortunate to have someone, that was able to teach me how to do that. And
talking about the East Coast, I love me some Carolina mustard-based barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Man, that is some good stuff.
The brisket's the only thing I've ever placed in and been in the money when I competed. I guess it's easier to cook than the rest of it.
Well, I don't know about easier, maybe.
For me.
Yeah, for me, it's a 2-day thing. It takes me 2 days to cook a brisket.
Yeah.
Well, as Ray Bradshaw says, low and slow, 16 hours. That's pretty much standard. Let's catch a few of these comments that are coming in really quick now since we asked for them. AJ says, Mel made me hungry for barbecue. Thanks, Mel. Melissa Lynn put that up. Deanna, I'll bring an appetite and some smoked salmon. That's a great idea. I love that too.
Yep.
Everybody loves smoked salmon. What else we got here? Love brisket by Melissa Lynn again.
I want to know where Deanna gets. I want to know where Deanna gets smoked salmon at in Arizona.
Yeah, Deanna, come on, tell us. Hey, we could. There you go. We could do the Florida Panhandle one year, and do Arizona the next.
Works for me.
Now we'd have to do Arizona early because, as everyone knows, it gets hot there in the summer.
Yeah, I just saw Moich and Eric said, just say when. Just say when.
Oh, Deanna says, my backyard, hubby makes it.
Okay. Then it's got to be good.
Yeah, Kim's got anything to do with it for sure. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions, comments, anything anybody else wants to talk about? Judith says, my husband smokes it at home. Yummy stuff. Fantastic. Gosh, man, have we had a great audience tonight or what?
Well, It's been fun. It really has. Rex, is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with those watching, or any final thoughts?
I've got one more story I'd like to tell if we got time.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell this one on Darlene. Okay. Discover Santa 2016, the second one. We were in Branson for that. A bunch of us were. And Bob, you've been to Branson a few times now, and Scott, they have a great car and tractor museum there in Branson. Well, Darlene and I got there a few days early, and we brought the Model A up there to having the car show at Discover Santa. But we went down to tour this car and tractor museum, and it just so happened that day, for sale inside the museum, was a 1973 Cadillac Eldorado, red with white leather interior and a white rag top. Not quite the right year, but close. And it was for sale, and it was about 75% restored. I still had the original paint. And Darlene knew I just fell in love with it. I talked to the guy that ran the museum. We talked price. We went back and forth a few times. And then she and I left and came back to the hotel. And she had an appointment to go to the spa at the hotel there. So she went off to that. And I was sitting in the lobby chit-chatting with several Santas. One of them, a very good friend of mine, Keith Carson. And I was telling Keith about this car. And so he and I put together this little joke to pull on Darlene. I disappeared. About the time I knew she was going to be coming out of the spa, Keith went that direction, and I made myself very scarce. And so she was looking for me, and she ran into Keith, And she asked Keith, have you seen Rex? And he says, I did a while back. He said something about going back to a museum about a car or something. And oh my gosh, she went ballistic. But she couldn't figure out how we were going to get it home. She knew I was going down there to buy it. And I didn't. But man, when she finally caught up with me, she did something that, Angela Mack, you need to learn to do this to your dad there. Darlene's favorite thing to do to me was what she called the Gibbs slap. You know, that pop up the back of the head that Gibbs does on NCIS? She gave me one of those, about knocked me over. Angela, you need to learn to do that to your dad. Just every once in a while, walk up there and pop him in the back of the head.
Well, we've got her on the screen, in which she doesn't come on very often anymore because she's behind the screen. But man, she does such a fantastic job producing this show, keeping the graphics coming, keeping the comments coming.
She makes us all look good.
I mentioned on the Monday show, I was so blessed this year. My daughter Angela and her daughter, my granddaughter Jada, both worked at the photo set, Cherry Hill photo set, with me this year, and absolutely my favorite year as Santa to have both those ladies behind the camera. Did such a wonderful job. I'm so proud of them. Thank you, Angela.
Angela, you're awesome. I mean, I've known you since I've known Bob, I guess, and you've always been there for all of us. And you know, when the show started and everything, and you took over the producership, it just did nothing but climb to higher heights. And my hat's off to you, and thank you for all you do.
Yes, you do it. You do a super excellent job. And as I thanked you in my end of the season last year video I sent, I know she's the thing that makes everybody on this show look so great and so good. Thank you, Angela.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so back to a couple of comments here real quick before we close the show out. Eric and Mo says that class you gave in Branson about how to sit in the chair worked. Not the lap, but the knee. That's something important. A lot of the new guys coming in, it's just always kind of been standard terminology to say the children are going to sit on your lap. We're beyond that now. With verbiage means, you know, different things nowadays than it did 10, 15 years ago. You've got to be careful how you word things sometimes. There was something said this year, a good friend of mine that lost his job at one of the chair jobs because he made a comment. The father didn't think anything about it, went home, was talking to the mother about it. She got upset, and he lost his chair job because of a simple couple of words that he meant nothing by it, but it was just the way the mother took it. The father was there. He was, you know, in front of the Santa and knew what the Santa meant. But anyway, so be careful what you say.
I just saw a comment there from Santa Randall Checker Lee. And Randall, I want you to know, I've got my hat on tonight like you wore last season once. I told you then I had one, so I thought I'd wear it tonight. And this is in honor of Randall Santa Checker Lee.
Fantastic. And hey, I can't say enough good things about Randy. You know, I've got Angela still on the producership on Mondays. Got Randy as the co-host there. That show has really grown. If you hadn't had a chance to catch it, you know, come on with us live. If you don't have time to come on with us live, catch it. You know. The recorded version on the Facebook group or in YouTube. I noticed I went back. We've got almost 200 hits on yesterday's show. Last week's show is approaching 370 hits in 1 week. So, folks, start watching. We want to say thank you for supporting us on Mondays, supporting us on Tuesday nights, and we really, really, really enjoy bringing these shows to you. And just want to continue.
And everybody, let me say something here. If you go out to YouTube, if you do YouTube, go find these guys on YouTube and subscribe to them. That actually helps them out and be able to get their own customized link to their show on YouTube if they can get enough subscribers. I subscribe to both the shows there. Everybody needs
13 away on the Tuesday Night Live show to be able to get a personalized URL. We're at 87. We need 100. So if you know someone who might want to just throw a subscribe in there for us, a like, that brings it up so that more people can see it. Maybe they'll like what we're doing and also subscribe. The Bob and Randall Show being a newer show than Tuesday Night Live, it's taking off. We don't have as many over there because that show just started getting put up late last year. So we also need subscriptions there, if you will. Please, hate to beg, but sure would help us out great to be able to get to that plateau of 100, to get that personalized URL. And then our next milestone is 500 or 1,000. And I don't think we'll ever get there, but it'd be wonderful if we did.
Hey, you never know. You never. And look, guys, I said it on last night's show. I made the comment. Tell your friends and stuff about this show and the Monday show. I love this show when they have the new young guys on it. I learn so much from the new perspective. Guys like me and a lot of us that have been doing this a number of years, I don't know, sometimes we get tunnel vision of what we're doing. That new perspective from young folks like Eric and Militia, I love those shows so much, and I think a lot of Santas will.
And they will be on February 28th, the last Tuesday of February. Our featured guest will be Eric and Moesha, and they're going to talk about their 2022 season, how much they grew. Branson last year, they're going to review a little bit on that. We're going to talk about their 2023 year and what they see going forward. Going to be a fantastic show. Next week will be Jessica Rosa. She is going to be one of our sponsors the first Tuesday of every month. She will be a sponsor, be giving away some of her design work and or photo work, and part of the trivia prize. So we'll have 3 trivia prizes on the first Tuesday of every month because Jessica has jumped in. She's our guest next week. And so anyway, again, I'll be reaching out to others and see if we can get a great new lineup this year. I mentioned yesterday in yesterday's show, if there's anyone that you would like to see that you think would be interested in coming on the show that has a good story or a lot to share, reach out to us and we'll see if we can get them on the show. All right, let's go ahead and reveal tonight's trivia answers. SchoolofSantas.com. First half of the show was brought to you by SchoolsofSanta.com. The Branson Ferris wheel moved from Chicago's Navy Pier to Branson's Track Family Fun Parks in what year? That was 2016. They shut it down in the fall of 2015, moved it, and early spring of 2016, it reopened. 2016. Who was our winner there?
Scott Becker.
Scott Becker. Scott Becker got the answer first on that one. Congratulations. Have we got his address? I don't know if we do or not. Scott,
Has one last year.
if not, send it to in a private message to one of us, and we'll get your prize coming out from Spangle on that one. Okay, so StuffForSanta.com. In 1813, a woman named Mary Pickersgill, a Baltimore flag maker, was asked to make 2 flags for Fort McHenry. One of these, the 30-foot by 42-foot Army flag, would later become known as the Star Spangled Banner, and that's in honor of Spangle. When Spangle changed his name from his birth name to his name he has now, he was looking for something flashy, something that he could be different, and he thought of the Star Spangled Banner, and that's where he came up with Spangle. Winner?
Ray Bradshaw.
Ray Bradshaw gets that one, Ray. Fantastic stuff for Santa.com. I've got your address, so I'll get that over to Spangle and get that sent out. Now, what I did not mention is the SchoolofSantas.com trivia. The winner each week for that gets their name put into a hat for a drawing the week or 2 before Branson to be able to be in the running for a scholarship to the School of Santas for this year. And then after this season, July is over, we'll continue this for the rest of 2023 for the 2024 Branson. All right, over to you, Scott.
One last question for you, Rex. What is your favorite critter that visits your bird bath feeder or property now or in the past?
Well, and everybody sees it on Facebook where I post the pictures. That's where Darlene's actually buried. And I put a deer feeder up and a bird feeder out there. My favorite at that spot has been the tortoise that came by there last year. If you got to see the picture on Facebook, that tortoise was a good 8 inches high and 10 inches in diameter that crawled through there. And he was moving because I have one picture taken every 60 seconds on that camera for a 24-hour period. And he was in 2 frames only.
Wow. He was moving, wasn't he?
He was moving along. He was my favorite over there. Now, I've got bobcat, coyote, turkey, deer, raccoon, possum, you name it, we've got it here. Anything that's in North Florida. In fact, not on my property, but once, about 12 years ago now, I saw a Florida panther out here on the main highway.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, do you have armadillos down there?
Not many. There are a few. They've migrated this far. So,
okay. Well, join us next week for our next Tuesday Night Live episode, and be sure and tune in to next Monday's Bob Randall and Company show to see who the guest for Tuesday Night Live will be.
Yes, we'll be announcing future guests each Monday on the Bob and Randall and Company live show. All right, Scott, you got any final thoughts?
I just think that we've held our audience, and it's been a great show, and I've really had a ball being here. And Rex, thank you so much for being our first guest for this year and the very first episode for 2023. And we look forward to possibly maybe having you on before the end of the year again, I hope. So thank you very much.
You know, guys, I'm here if you need me. I was very honored to be your first guest this year. And for everybody out there, keep the milk cold and the cookies warm.
Absolutely. And thank you, my friend, for joining us. Fantastic show as always. And if we get enough students to go ahead and go forth with the St. Bob's Garland, Texas class, March 11th and 12th, I'll see both you guys there.
I'll be there.
All right, a big thank you to schoolofsantas.com and stuffersanta.com. Our recorded videos can be seen on our Facebook group and our YouTube channel at the Tuesday Night Live show. Also, remember the Bob and Randall and Company live preview show has its own YouTube channel. Stick around for the end credits. We got a new closeout end row credits this year, so don't run away yet. I want to tell everyone good night. Thank you for coming in and watching us. Count your blessings, not your sorrows. Have a blessed week. Be sure and join us next Tuesday night. Same Claus time, same Claus channel. That's 7 p.m. Central. Until next time, on behalf of Santa Rex Ray, Spangle, Scott, Angela, myself, everyone included out there, I'm Santa Bob McMaster saying good night. Remember, always let your Santa heart and Mrs. Claus heart shine bright. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.